Hello Stampers, it's Debbie with Stamp It with Debbie, and I'm here today to show you 4 ways to use those scrap pieces that we all have in our card supplies to make some cards. Now, these are just some of my scraps, but I tend to keep all the little pieces and thinking that I'll use them one day, and so I put together a couple cards to show you easy ways to create beautiful cards using them. So I just have some regular cardstock, some designer paper. You could use any paper that you have. Now the stamp set that I'm going to use is the ridiculously awesome stamp set that is in the new catalog, and I decided to just use one stamp set instead of separating amongst many, because this is just about a technique, not actually the cards. We can change the cards up a little if we want to. So let's get started, and I'm going to show you the first card that I'm creating. So for this one, I tried to use each of the stamps a little bit so that you could kind of get an idea on how to use them. Now, I don't actually have the cards made. That's the thing. We're going to make them along the way. I'm using a Whisper White card base, which is 8.5 by 5.5. And then I have a piece to come on top here that's 4 by 5.25. And I have a red scrap that I cut out previously from the heart dies. And then what I need to do is just, for this one, I'm going to just make this one some of my Magenta Madness and my real red scraps. And a lot of times when you're cutting for a card base or something, you have that little 1/2-inch strip. So that's what I decided to do. Now, I already have cut this, but I'm just going to show you. So I've cut these. We're not using this piece. We're going to cut this out from something else. Sorry. So I've cut these 1/2 inch by about 4 inches, but you're going to want to look and see. This is what I'm going to show you how to make. So this is scraps glued together, and then I used this piece here from the Hippo and Friends. It's this largest piece here, and I just cut them out. So what we're going to do is just take some adhesive, glue these down in any order that you want. You could use designer paper, you could use cardstock. I just happen to have these little pieces left over. After you glue it down, you're going to want to let it dry just a little bit before you put it through the Big Shot. So let's pretend those are all dried. I'm going to put this on top here. I'm going to run it through the Big Shot. Of course, all those pieces will stay together. And then I'm going to end up with this piece right here. And so it's ready to create the card. So I'm just going to take this piece that is, again, 4 by 5.25. And I could have made the card background red. I just wanted to keep it white to keep it simple. And then I thought this would look really cute if I put it kind of peeking out behind there a little bit. So I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive on the back here. Oh, I should have done my stamping first. I don't have my silicone mat, but I do have my piercing mat. Let me grab that. You want to do your stamping first because there is a little bit of texture in that piece that we cut. And if we stamp it like that, we're going to get bumps in our stamping. So I'm just going to stamp up my stamp that says P.S. I love you. I'm going to stamp it right here in the center. I inked it up with black ink. Ooh, now, there we go. I'm going to put it on here, how I think looks good. And then I think I'll put this up with dimensionals. Probably we need one over in this corner. Take the backing off. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a lot of scraps, and I don't like to throw away the little pieces because I guess I'm always thinking in my mind, one day I'll use those. And so that's why I decided to create a couple of these cards. So how cute is that? Now, if you wanted to add more, you could add a couple rhinestones over here and here, or you can just leave it. Let's add some rhinestones and see what that looks like. Because I do love sparkly. And I'm just using some of the clear rhinestones. Stampin' Up! Does have a lot of different colors. I could also use my Stampin' Blends marker. I could have colored those in with the Magenta Madness if I wanted to. That probably would have looked super cute. And there we go, card number 1. What do you think? How easy would that be to create? Let me grab the supplies for card number 2. This one, I am using the Magenta Madness card base, 8.5 by 5.5. A piece of Whisper White cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And remember, I'm trying to keep these cards really, really simple because we're just using up scraps to make the background pop out a little bit. So that's why I'm keeping them simple. If you want to step them up, of course you can always step them up. So let me see. I think I'm going to do this one with the Let Your Faith Be Bigger Than Your Fear. I'm going to ink that up. I'm just using Memento Black for all of my words today. So I'll clean that off. If you're watching for the first time today, don't forget to hit follow. If you're watching me on YouTube, go ahead and click the subscribe button so that you never miss a video. I've been making a lot of videos lately to share, and I hope that you're enjoying them. And I would appreciate if you would click the subscribe button now. Also, if you need any supplies, you can always visit my online store any time of day. And there's a link in the comments, but that's basically at stampitwithdebbie.stampinup.net, or as I said, there's a link in the comments that you can find me there. So I'm just putting adhesive on that 4 by 5 1/4. And now I have a couple pieces, 3. And this is the Magenta Madness because it matches the card base. But again, use whatever scraps you have. Use a coordinating color. I just cut a couple pieces, 3/4 of an inch by about 4 inches. And I'm just going to stagger these on here. So I'm using liquid adhesive, but you could use snail or whatever adhesive that you choose. And again, I'm just staggering these pieces on here. And then we have the circle that we stamped, Let Your Faith Be Bigger Than Your Fear. And I definitely think that piece needs to be popped up with dimensionals. So I'm going to grab a couple of those. And so while I'm finishing up this card, I just wanted to remind you that over on my Facebook page at facebook.com/stampitwithdebbie, if you're watching me on YouTube, if you're watching me on Facebook, just make a note in your calendar. Every Tuesday, I'm going to be giving you a technique or some kind of fancy fold. So I'm kind of calling it Technique Tuesday. So be sure and join me. Okay, so the last card, I did not have my magenta pen right here. So I'm going to grab that this time. And I popped that up, and I'm just going to color a couple of my rhinestones. And I can use the blender pen because it's alcohol based. And alcohol base dries very quickly. So I'm just going to pop these off of here, and I think I'll put a couple over here. I always try to put my rhinestones on in odd numbers. And then there is card number 2. What do you think about that one? Super simple, but it gets the point across. And again, it's about the note that's on the inside, and you have some sparkle. If you wanted to add another layer to this, you definitely could. Again, you could use designer paper for these pieces. It's up to you. I'm just basically showing you the layout, and then it's up to you what kind of scraps that you're using, whatever you have. The next one, I don't have this one done, so we're going to do this one together. I have a piece of the, I believe it's called Misty Moonlight. It's the new designer paper, or new cardstock in color. And I have some of these little pieces from the Artistically Something designer paper. This piece is cut at 3 3/4 by 5. I normally would make the first layer 4 by 5 1/4, but I made it 3 3/4 by 5 for 2 reasons. For one, you'll be able to see a little more of the blue background, but for 2, these are cut at 1/2 inch, and if I cut them at 1/2 inch, they will end perfectly at the bottom. So that's what I did, is made them 1/2 inch, and then because if I had 5 1/4, then I would have a little bit of room left over at the end. So I'm just going to randomly place these onto my card, and I'll try to do it quickly so you don't have to watch me glue. I didn't do this because I wanted you to see how quickly and easily this card can come together. And so it doesn't even have to be in a pattern. If you decide you want to make the whole card all different colors, you could do that too. And so again, I'm using liquid adhesive. It gives us a little more wiggle room to get them on there straight. I'm not leaving a gap in between. If you wanted to, you definitely could. All right. Looks like I have a lot of different scraps, and I don't think I have, I'll have a couple that will duplicate here, but not too many. That one got off just a little bit, but that's okay. Okay, so let me see what else I have. I'm going to put this one back on. This is a repeat. I'm going to save those 2. Almost done, just 2 more pieces here. And then we'll do this one for the last. Now, if some of your pieces got a little bit longer, that's okay. We'll just turn this over and use our paper snips and snip off anything that got too long to make it even before we attach it to our card base. All right, I'm going to put those little scraps out of the way, and I'm going to get some adhesive and go ahead and put this piece right on my card base. I did cut this one at 4 1/4 by 11. And so I just want to put that right in the center, and I think it looks really good with more of the outline showing. And then this one I did from that same stamp set, Ridiculously Awesome. I did You Are My Sunshine. I really love this stamp set. It was designed by my upline, Rhonda Wade, for achieving $1 million in sales. So we're so proud of her and really love this stamp set. It's got so many good sayings and big sayings that you really don't need a lot else on the card. And I'm just going to kind of offset that a little bit. So again, you could add some rhinestones if you want to. You could add some ribbon up at the top. But I like it just like this. Keeps it very basic. So there's card number 3. Now I have just one more because I said I had 4 techniques This one I'm using a card base of the Bumblebee, the new cardstock. And this piece here is 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to grab the biggest stamp set, make today ridiculously awesome. And I'm going to get my ink. And ink that up. I think this might be one of my favorite sayings as an encouragement. They're all really great, but I just really like this one for encouragement in the stamp set. Okay, I have that done. That's all the stamping we're going to do. So now this is from the flower pack of paper that we have, and I've just cut these. I'll set them down so you can see. So these were just a little bit of scraps I had left over. One end is wider, one end is more narrow. So I'm going to separate my scraps real quick. And I'm going to start by just gluing these down. Now these you want to have at least, I believe I made these 4 1/4 long. And again, you can adjust your cardstock piece. We're going to start at the outside edge and just leave a little bit of a border. So you can see, hopefully you can see right here, there's a little bit of a border. Now our next piece that we put down, put some more liquid. I like to use liquid adhesive just because, like I said, it gives us a little more wiggle room. Now this is the bigger end down here. This time I'm going to put the big end at this side. And you do want to leave a little bit of a gap. And so I'm just going to keep moving along, and I'm going to make each side rotating. So I'm going to put the big end here, the big end here. Now I'm going to move to the other end. Put the big end back up here. And again, just make sure you're overlapping on each side. We're going to go back and trim those sides off when we're all done. So don't worry that it's hanging over. That's a good thing about it being scraps. You just want them to coordinate so that they match, so have the same colors that coordinate together. We're almost done here. Hopefully I just have 2 pieces left. And you can put them as close together. I have done them, of course, on the one that I just showed you where I didn't leave any space at all in between. So that's totally up to you how you want to do it. So now I have all those pieces on there. I just need to take my paper snips. Whoops, dropped my scissors. And I'm going to come to the back, and I'm just going to cut off that excess. All right, I'm going to set this aside. And then, like I said, I have my piece of the Bumblebee paper. I'm going to just put that on with adhesive. You could put that part on with dimensionals if you want to. You could also make this even smaller and put another coordinating color around it. So now I wanted to show you real quickly. So I can put this on there and leave it as is. Or if I had some extra pieces, because sometimes we do, you could put a flower on there if you want to. Whatever extra pieces you have. This is about using up scraps. And whenever I use, or whenever I'm creating cards, it seems like I always have extra pieces of die cuts that I've made. So if I wanted to, I could do that. I'm going to put this piece on for today, just in keeping with the stamp set that I'm using. And then again, this piece is also cut from that same, the Hippo and Friends die. I'm using this piece here, the largest one. And again, what a simple card. Now, if I wanted to add some rhinestones or some kind of glitter paper behind this, I could add another layer if I wanted to. But you can see here are all 4 of our cards, and the scraps come together very well and create some really colorful and friendly cards. So I hope that this has been helpful to you, and I hope that you'll subscribe or follow me, depending on if you're on Facebook or on YouTube. If you need any supplies, I would love to be your demonstrator. And again, you can find me at StampItWithDebbie.com, Stamp It With Debbie at StampinUp.net. Thank you so much for joining me today for Technique Tuesday, and I hope that you'll join me every Tuesday for another technique. I'll see you again real soon.